I don't know. Interesting film. I told Sophie this, Jadd. I was actually
This?
talking to a colleague. I don't think so.
Okay.
A colleague of mine went there.
Oh, no shit. Really?
Well, no, I texted him last night. He went there. You guys both watched the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
He went there. He went there at when the guy like renamed it, like after they bought it.
Ah, bummer.
Yeah. He didn't go because I was gonna say he's only like a few years older than me. I was like, damn, dude, were you like one? Like when you went there? Like he was in like the 80s. He's like, no, it was actually a really nice place. I was like, oh, definitely wasn't the real action part.
Dude, I would have loved to be part of that.
Have you seen that movie? I think it's called Adventureland with Jesse Eisenberg. He works at it hits him and Ryan Reynolds and I think the chick from what's that vampire movie? Twilight's in it. It's actually it's a great movie. And they work at like an amusement park like over the summer. It reminded me a lot of that, but granted, that's a fictional movie. And this is like real.
Yeah, this actually
real
happened.
Life.
So I know we don't need it, but have you guys ever seen a body bag before?
It's an incredibly small body bag. Did you murder a squirrel?
Yeah.
You did murder a squirrel? Okay. We'll talk about that out there.
Looks like Remy's shit bags.
No, that's what it is.
Remy's shit bag?
Yeah. Nice.
It's my dog's shit bag, but yeah.
Is it filled with shit?
Your dog's not in it, is it?
No.
Okay.
No.
You've never made that mistake, have you? Thought it was a body bag and put your dog in it and threw it in the dumpster. All right. Looks like we're recording, so that's good.
Nice.
Wouldn't want to miss any of this.
We're live now.
We are live. What was I going to say? All right. I mean, we just get into it.
Screw it. Let's go.
Oh, I did call the number.
What number?
In one of the ads that they had for that park, where they showed like one of the original 1980s like TV ads. Yeah. I was like, oh fuck, I wonder what that like number rings to now.
Dude, we should have done it right on here.
Did it ring to anything?
It did. It's a completely different business. It's like a law firm or something. Like
they haven't changed the number?
Are you sure it wasn't his fake insurance company?
Right?
It wasn't, because then I Googled the number afterwards, and yeah, it led me to like some sort of either law firm or accounting.
Wait, it was a real business, like taking calls?
It was closed on the weekends, but yeah.
How do you not change that number? There's like a nationally trending like documentary going around right now with that number. Hey, whatever. It's good marketing, I guess.
Yeah,
you never know
they're
who's
about to get like a
and
ton of new clients
who also might need legal advice at the same time. With that being said, all right, we're back. Morse Code Podcast, episode 45, I think.
Damn.
By the time
do
this
like
comes,
2 a week, right? 2, 3?
I think so. But by the time this comes out, we've totally messed up like the numbers on the last few, I think. I think if we're doing this right. So I think there's one we're already recorded, we want to release before this. So I think by the time you're listening to this in real life, it's episode 45. Shout out Pedro Martinez.
I was going to say the Pedro episode. The Pedro-sode, baby.
I was going to say
Shout
Romeo
out,
Langford.
Yeah, of course. Shout out Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. I guess there's another 45 we could shout out if we wanted to. This one's pretty apolitical.
What's up, Donnie?
Hold on, I got a bag of Cheetos here somewhere.
Let's get right down to business. So if you haven't noticed yet, we have a friend of the program, Jadd Naamani, back with us. Jadd on the radio, Jabroni Radio. Whatever the hell else you got going on. What's up, Jadd? How are you, buddy?
Good, man. How about you?
Not too bad.
Been a minute. Is that a Stone Cold Broken Skull brew?
No, I wish. This is a delicious Bissell Brothers IPA. Shout out Portland, Maine, local biz.
But shout out to them.
Yes, support local.
I assume they're listening.
That's them calling right now. Thanking you for the free press.
They're quick.
It's the law firm.
Is that the Action Park law firm calling to do a live cease and desist?
Yeah, I asked for a call back because the whole time was pretty long.
Yeah. You guys mind calling me back Sunday night around 7 p.m.?
Yeah. live phoner.
So anyway, I don't even remember what we have scheduled for this episode. I think we have a guest coming on later, Soap. Is that right? If we do this right?
For this episode?
Yeah. Are we Are we doing this as an intro to Dan Lifshafts
yes.
or no?
We are. Yes.
Okay.
I
It'd
thought
be
that
awkward
was a
if we
trick
didn't
question.
at this point. No.
What up,
So
Dan?
we have Dan Lifshafts coming on later. We'll talk about that later. Little behind the camera. There's an old trick in the book. Jadd taught us this one. We're recording something different now, and then we're going to edit it with the interview we do later. So if you're listening to this at this time, you wouldn't even noticed if I didn't just say that. So.
Yeah, Dan's on the way in a few minutes.
Correct.
It's a very elaborate trick.
That's what we call a tease.
He's in our Zoom lobby till Tuesday around 7:30 p.m. So
if anyone, if anyone's learning how to like make a podcast right now and wants to know how we did this, hit the DMs and we can explain.
We actually all piled in a car, my truck, and I gunned it 88 miles an hour. We actually went back into time to record this episode. But like the present day us, well, the present day you guys, the present day me is probably drinking somewhere, but the present day you guys are recording Dan right now.
Yes, something like that. We'll see. I don't really know what's going to happen with this one, but anyway, we wanted to get together for a little bit. A few things I thought were important to discuss tonight. Why I wanted to bring Jadd in. I think there's two main things we want to look at: Action Park and low stakes conspiracy theories. Two of the things I've been buried in this past weekend. So let's start with Action Park. So we talk a lot of movies and Netflix and shows and what's trending and shit like that. So I don't know about you guys. I think Soapy and I started talking about this a while ago, and then we looped you in. If you haven't heard of it before, Jadd, before we looped you in going into the weekend, I first heard of. Well, let me preface this. There's a documentary on HBO Max, which apparently is now its own thing. A documentary on Action Park, which was I'm using this term loosely, an amusement park / water park in like the 70s and 80s in Vernon, New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
I always thought it was like actually New York, but it's in New Jersey.
It's probably the most New Jersey thing that existed. If
very
you think
fair.
About it. Like that's the most New Jersey idea ever.
A water park in the middle of the summer. Yeah, definitely. So
I thought was going to rival Disneyland.
Right.
So I actually first heard of this on another podcast I was listening to. Excuse me. Where did I hear this? Oh, it was actually it's called Victory, the podcast. It's like an Entourage, like rewatch podcast with the director and a couple of the characters. That's and cool. And their like media company is called Action Park Media. And someone asked them, like, where did you get the name Action Park? And he's like, oh, we named it after that crazy ass theme park from Jersey back in like the 80s. And at the time I never heard of it. Then ironically I saw, they're like, yeah, there's actually a documentary coming out on it soon. This was like 2 months ago. So anyway, I've been looking forward to this for a while. And then the trailer came out. The trailer's dope. And then we actually all watched it this weekend. So if you haven't seen it yet, I think it's only on HBO Max. That's why I said, I think that's like a new exclusive like streaming platform. Right?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah. Cause it's all the old HBO, cause there used to be HBO Go, which I would download and pirate off of my parents' Comcast logins.
Yeah.
HBO Max, it's a little stricter. You need to have like the actual like head of the household login information. So shout out Soapy for illegally distributing that to a couple of us. And
thanks, Dad. Allegedly, since we're on something that's
we're actually streaming on HBO Max.
Yeah,
as we
are.
I
was going to say, Mr. Max would not be happy.
No.
I tell
Harold
him
Bartholomew, Oscar Max would not be thrilled with us right now after all this. But anyway, so I don't even know where to begin. I wrote this down. I think Action Park, the documentary, was a mix between The Wolf of Wall Street, that movie Adventureland I was talking about, and the Firefest documentary, if you've ever seen that, all coming together. I don't know if you want to break this down ride by ride, death by death.
It's all the same.
Yeah, let's start with you, Soap. What were some of your overall thoughts on this documentary? And if there's anything else, we should fill the listeners on in before we get into it too specifically at all.
Number one, I think in our little group chat before this, I definitely wish that this still existed. Before we get into the details, like I think anyone who watches it, as stupid as it sounds to be like, yeah, this place was very dangerous, we all would love a chance to at least like take one of those two things for a spin. I wouldn't have tried everything. Well, I don't know. I guess if I was forced to, I would, and just like ride it as cautiously as possible, especially that fucking alpine ski ride or alpine whatever, alpine slide. That looked really fun.
A straight up metal slide in the middle of like a rocky hill.
Yeah. Okay. Was that the thing with the carts where the brakes didn't work?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
I didn't quite understand the engineering of that brake either. It looked literally just like a stick.
It reminded me of when I was a kid. Like, I had a sled that had a brake like that, and like you would pull it up, and there'd be like a piece of metal underneath that would like dig into the snow, dig into the ground, so you'd slow down or stop. But like,
it's basically like braking on a pair of rollerblades or something.
Yeah,
like, that doesn't work with a metal slide.
Well, plus you would be creating like marks in the slide, so you'd be messing it up for the people behind you. So like, I mean, not that they cared because it was a death trap anyway, but
there was certainly no regard for anyone else besides yourself at the time of anything. Is it bad that the first thing that stood out to me was how un-COVID friendly this place was? Like, that's all I could think of, like, watching it. I was like, good God. Like, you could literally get a viral video if you just took that video and put like a news caption underneath, like Georgia amusement park under under fire after ungodly amounts of people at their amusement park over the weekend.
Yo, that would be
10 people die. None from COVID, but 10 people still die.
Killer promotional idea for them, though.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing it reminded me of was like just the 80s nostalgia was pretty cool. Yeah. Definitely. And that's another reason I think why a lot of people will be interested in this and would love to like time travel back to this because that felt like, I don't know, I was kind of thinking of Stranger Things a little bit and the old school. It was hilarious that like MTV was there because remember MTV back in the day, they would just randomly do like, I don't know, the top 10 video countdown, and the guy doing it, I can't even remember his name, but there's one specific guy that I can picture with that
Jesse Camp
logo. Yeah. The old logo on the mic, and they'd be doing it from like a fucking random theme park. Apparently, Action Park was
or like Spring Break or something.
Yeah.
Let's be respectful throughout the whole like episode of our podcast because you guys probably don't know this, but Gene Mulvihill is actually a distant relative of mine. So let's
I forgot
watch what we say.
Yeah,
if possible.
I know, sorry about your uncle. His legal name is Gene Mulvihill Preap, right? You just dropped the hyphen, I guess, for confidentiality.
Yeah.
Sorry, I probably should have said that.
They had reached out to me before the show was supposed to air, and I was just like, I don't know if we can kind of keep it on the down low a little bit. Got enough negative publicity.
But I'm going to record a podcast about it on my own.
Well, I mean, that is your trust fund, so.
True. Yeah. See, you lost a lot of money in that investment, buddy, back in the day. So anyway, that's a good point to bring up, I guess. That guy Gene, he was like the founder of it. And that's why I said it kind of reminded me of Wolf of Wall Street. It was like, right? It was like these two Wall Street guys for some reason thought this was like the next venture. But it was like no rules in the sense that, especially it got really good when they started talking about like the employees working there, all kids. And there was a quote from the movie I wrote down that was great. Someone like one of the old, and the people they did get on were fantastic, by the way. Like the former like people who went to it.
Oh my God, yeah.
They all had very vivid memories of this place too. But they all some good stories. Exactly. It was along the lines of there was alcohol, dangerous rides, and in a place with no rules. What else could you ask for? And why wouldn't you expect something to go wrong? And it's like that should just be the tagline for the fucking movie.
Oh my God, that sounds great as a teenager. Like I wish I could go back to my, I don't know, 12 to 14-year-old me and have that place be an option. Oh my God.
Can you imagine, man? Oh, that'd be
like you guys are being serious? Like you would have wanted to go there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After seeing this documentary or like back in the day when it was just a cool
thing? All the above. I wish I was around, or I wish that I would have gone to it when I was a kid, and then seeing this, if it was still open, I would be like, nostalgia trip. Let's go back.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Especially the way that one guy described it, like it was almost a rite of passage. That guy, whatever, Get Hard.
Yo,
I'm assuming that's not how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
But maybe it's Gethard, but yeah.
We'll go with Get Hard.
It's Mr. Get Hard.
Until he corrects us.
But yeah, I'm sure you guys remember like the first time that you like Dan, you always tell me about the first time you saw your balls drop or whatever. You go back to that, but no, you go back to that day and just like this summer I'm gonna go there and prove that like I was cool enough to
I'm not a bitch.
Some of the rides. And yeah, people just talking about how they would come back to school with like all the fucking bruises and cuts and stuff.
Scrapes marked up.
I do just want to emphasize one more thing for our listeners who may not have actually seen the documentary yet. In no way am I being sarcastic when I say people died at this like theme park. So that's why
don't let the laughter fool you. It actually happened.
Right.
And we can go into the death toll shortly, but that's why I asked like if you would genuinely want to revisit this place after seeing this documentary. But I'm with you. I mean, I feel like, yeah, it's like another cool thing is like that was just being part of being a kid, like being called out for being a bitch. Like, hey, like if you're you know, if you're gonna talk the talk, you better walk the walk. Get your ass on the alpine slide or go balls deep in the wave pool or some of the other ones that were there. But before we get into any specifics, Jadd, any overall takeaways from your end?
I honestly, so it's an hour and a half, and I just, not that I thought it dragged out, but the way that it like was paced, I thought it was going to end at least 5 or 6 different times, and it was almost like,
me too.
And then this happened, and then this happened, but wait, there's more because there's a whole other side of the park that we haven't even talked about yet.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, man, it's. Well, I thought it was good, but it was just there was always something.
Well, at some point they went through it like ride by ride, and I was like over an hour into it, and I was like, okay, like they still have to get into all the, you know, the trailer hinted at like all the legal issues, the deaths, where it is now. I was like, God damn, like they're gonna squeeze a lot into this last like 10 minutes, but no, I thought it was interesting. I'm just trying to think of a couple other things I wrote down. So it's like, if you haven't seen it, it's like literally just picture, I don't know if you guys have, but I've worked at like a camp before when I was like 20 or like 19. And it was pretty fun. Like you do kind of bond with like those people you work with every day because you're at the same place all day throughout the summer. This place though, it's like they brought in like, there was also a part about like labor law issues too. Like they brought legit like 15-year-old kids in and worked like 50 hours a week.
Right.
And, like bought them all booze and like got them all fucked up. One of the better parts was when they were trying, one of the more notorious rides. And Sophie, I know you're an engineering major. You can get into this one a little more. Like that, basically that loop slide. On YouTube, you're watching them doing it in my hands.
The cannonball thing.
And there was a line something along the lines of like, we didn't bring in an engineer to help design it. So we just had to test it with our employees at different speeds and angles until we got it to work correctly. And it certainly didn't work correctly the first time.
And that was after they put like a ton of dummies in there and they were getting decapitated and stuff too. So, I mean, can you imagine being the friggin' employee that's like, yeah, I'll take that $100 bribe to go in this and hope that I come out?
Great point. There was the owner at the other end of the tunnel waving $100 bill, bribing these kids to go down and try it. Like that, hindsight's 2020. At the time, if I'm a 15, 16-year-old kid, that sounds pretty fun. I'm 100% doing that all day. I'll take my licks, come home with a few C notes.
I would maybe not be the first employee that did it after all those decapitated dummies, but I would be the second one.
Yes, actually,
that was one of my nicknames growing up.
But I might have called it "Quit Slap Door," and there were teeth in there.
Yep. What were some of your guys' favorite rides that they highlighted on the show that might be worth mentioning? So,
Jadd, you want to go first, or you want?
Or Jadd, please, you're the guest.
Yeah, like I think it's a mix of, I don't know, it was like the Colorado River one where I think
the owner wanted it to rival an actual Colorado River, I believe is the quote.
Yeah, when literally like he was quoted saying like, "There's no guard on the Colorado River pushing you down the rapids."
Yeah.
You're like, bro, it's an amusement park. But that looks kind of fun. And then the one where like everybody just kept slamming into each other, it was like, it was an old lady's river. Maybe it was the same ride, but
I think it was the same ride. Yeah, I was gonna say because like they talked about like people getting into fights. People would like get off their tubes and just throw down like in the middle of a fucking public water park. And the best part was he's like, yeah, and it got really bad when the staff would get involved too. So it's like the kids trying to organize this ride are breaking up fights from like, you know, hammered 30, 40-year-old dads getting, from the sun all day from New York in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you expect? Like, what do you think is going to fucking happen?
That was good. And like the speedboat thing. I died laughing over that story where like the dude parked on top of that other dude. And the lady's like
super casual about it.
Speedboat swerve, homie, watch out for the waves.
Right.
I believe they described the water as being like murky, oily, and had 4-foot snake infestations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just, and again, I'm broken record, but I go back to my original question of, would you go back to this park after watching this documentary?
Yeah, man. At least
you know what you're getting into this time.
Right. At least once for the story.
I'm going to make an effort to stay in my boat.
Yeah.
I'll make an effort. Can't imagine, can't control much else. But yeah, that was good. Trying to think, what are some other good ones?
I got
Speedboats. Go ahead.
This isn't necessarily like, I don't even remember the ride, but the story about how, Uncle Gene, how my Uncle Gene had like one of his employees come in and to scare kids away from like trying to illegally get into the park without a ticket. He would have them. They had a kid set up at one of the rides, and they would take like what do they call it? Like a cow prodder?
A cattle prod, yeah.
A cattle prod. They would take that, and what was it? They would have like one of the kids just act like he was trying to sneak into the park, and once he got to like a certain section of the ride, one of the employees would be like, "Hey, can you like present your ticket or something like that?" He wouldn't have it, and then they pretend to like electrocute him.
Yeah.
Was that?
Yeah. So the whole thing was like, it was him explaining to some employer or whatever that he had a brilliant idea. Oh, at first he was like, yeah, I got this, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. So like he turns the cattle prod on himself and like pretends to get electrocuted. And the guy's like, what? And he was like, it's not real. But listen, here's a great idea. We'll ask for a ticket. We'll have an employee pretend to like be a customer. He'll say he has no ticket. We'll cattle prod him. He'll like fall to the ground and then people will just drag him off.
Yeah.
So yeah, they did that and then like got 100 calls or whatever that like, yeah, somebody tried to sneak in. So like the owner killed him.
This guy, here's another reference. This guy was kind of like Vince McMahon. This Gene Mulvihill.
Yeah, Mulvihill.
This guy was Vince McMahon, where he just thought he was invincible, and he could pull off any sort of like whatever. He's clearly willing to go to whatever length it took to make this place as entertaining and no holds barred as possible. Mm-hmm. That story was ridiculous. Like, do you watch Better Call Saul?
Oh my God, yeah, I love
that. Was
that
like
show.
that. That was like in the beginning of that show where they first show him. What the hell did he do? They had him. Doesn't he hire some like skateboard kids to pretend to get into a, like some sort of an accident so that he can commit insurance fraud, something like that?
Yep.
I mean, this guy was like not much further away from that. So that story was ridiculous. Just them pretending to like electrocute a kid, essentially. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the fuck a cattle prod is. It doesn't sound pleasant.
It's literally like a big stun gun, sort of, but like you use it for cattle, so it has to have some power because cows are huge.
That's not used as like a sex toy, right? I assume.
I mean,
no. What? That's up to the parties involved. Yeah, I will say, I don't hate the move from like a leadership perspective, like setting the tone early.
Right.
Hey, you got to set an example. It's like when a bad kid acts out in class, might not be a big deal, but if you don't, however you decide to react to that on the first time is how it's going to react going forward. So sometimes you got to kill a kid to let them know, hey, admission ain't free.
I just would have liked to have seen like someone challenge him and be like, all right, dude, well, why don't you get on one of these rides then? You like fucking 60-year-old decrepit man who's just designing this shit like a mad scientist in the back, like not having to go through any of this.
I wonder if he's been on any of the rides. Probably not.
Yeah. Well, maybe he is now, like in the afterlife, but since he's dead and so is this amusement park. But
sorry,
spoiler alert, he's dead.
It's kind of like the story of the infirmary as well, when people would get hurt on
my God, yes,
the ski rides. So and I thought they put together the documentary really well with like the drawings and like stuff like that. It was well produced. But anyway, they're like, yeah, and then there was the infirmary, if you want to call it that, or something like that. And it's like just another like part of this legend. They'd spray you with like that mystery fucking scab healing
orange,
like a scrape. Yeah. And if you stayed within like the 5 foot like radius circle without running out, you'd get a free prize or something like that. And she's like, no one did it.
Yeah, it was a pin. No, 2 people did
it. Well, exactly. And then she's like, well, I think one person did it, and we ended up mailing him an Action Park pen or something like that. Like, just these stories, it's like, I find it hard to believe that they lasted this long. Like, the other thing I just thought of now is, imagine this was taking place current day with like social media and how fast, like, this place wouldn't last more than 3 hours. Like, as soon as a kid dies and that goes viral, you got to shut this place down.
First of all,
like,
that
imagine
infirmary,
like live tweeting their day at Action Park.
That infirmary was just a shed that had the medical cross like sticker.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
Like spray painted on. And they just throw one of those white lab jackets and a stethoscope on whoever's kid was on.
Yeah, on like a 15-year-old.
An actual like Fisher Price stethoscope in a white jacket.
Oh my God! Yeah, that
was one of like my recurring
circle.
Things. Yeah, like if that ever got out, like, and that's kind of like why I related it to Firefest. Like, that was such a shit show because people were live tweeting their experience with this thing, and that's how it blew up so fast. This literally wouldn't last a weekend. Like not even.
It wouldn't last a full day, man. No. It honestly, I guarantee you, like, if they tried to do it in 2020, man, it wouldn't even get open.
Oh God, 2020, no chance. No chance. Not even with social media. Just like, and this is probably for the best, but a place like that would not be allowed today. And I mean, I'm sure we've all been in places like Canopy Lake Park and Water Country and stuff. Like, yeah, they're not Disney World. They're not the coolest places in the world, but I don't know. I could see someone dying at Water Country. Maybe someone has. Jadd, do you know if someone's died at Water Country?
No.
Okay.
And anytime I've been there live broadcasting, I made sure that everybody was safe. Yeah.
All right. Respect. But I could see it happening, but I certainly don't go to Water Country knowing I could die that day. It's just not part of I choose not to believe that. It's like Final Destination. But no, this was just a different scenario. And that was one of the quotes in the movie too. Like, it is very sad. People died. But it's like, I think it was that Get Hard guy. He's like, dude, there should never be a scenario where the second person dies at Action Park. Like, that should be wrapped up after the first one.
There shouldn't be a second drowning in the wave pool. Like, close it down after the first.
Dude, that one blew my mind.
Yes, the wave pool was a whole different.
In the pool part?
I can see it. They explained it pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
They, like, when they compared it to like a salt water, like you're like buoyant enough to ride with the waves. If you're just in a pool with all those people, I think it like everything just like sucks you under there, and it's a lot harder to get out. And then there were parts, what they call it, death, the death chair.
The death
chair.
The
lifeguard who's on duty
zone.
In the deep end.
Yeah, if you were up to your shoulders, you were considered in the death zone.
And they're like, yeah, we'd have to take a time out every couple hours to scan the bottom of the pool for bodies and any other miscellaneous things that might be there.
They had to like, was that or was it something different? They repainted the bottom white.
Oh, they had to do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was getting harder and harder to see bodies floating at the bottom of the wave pool. Like, obviously the people that died there, that could fuck up your whole life. It did.
Yeah.
But imagine just being a family there that day and just seeing someone fucking die in a wave pool. Like, what could have been the happiest day of your childhood memory.
Right. Washed
away. No pun intended.
I just remembered one on that Alpine slide ride. Mm-hmm. On the way up there,
it's so good. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
So on the way up there, like you were taken by a chairlift or ski lift, and you took your like little scooter. Cart with you. Yeah. And so one of the games that people would, I guess you could call it a game, is that on their way up to the top of the mountain, they would fucking drop their carts on the people down below.
Trying to hit people.
It. Yeah, they would drop it and like kind of hope that it would hit people. And they were like one of the security guards was one of the guys interviewed, and he was just like, yeah, we it was a regular occurrence to have multiple people hit by like just have a cart dropped on them every day. And I was like, a cart?
Oh yeah,
a cart flying out of the air and just landing on your head.
Like just being in line waiting for the ride, just ducking, like dodging carts falling at you, and kids in the chairlift just flipping you off down.
Dude,
that's
or
like
even
psychopathic.
Even like, let's say you're riding the ride, so you've got enough. The ride is already hard enough by itself. Because you have to dodge like fucking death and like they were saying that you had to distribute your weight and make sure that you pulled on the brake at the right turns or else you're going to fly off. The other obstacle is the other riders fucking trying to kill you. Like
dude, this is honestly, I was just going to say, it's literally like a video game.
Yeah.
It's like you get to the bonus level and just have to dodge like the carts flying at you.
It's like old school Donkey Kong, man, where he's throwing stuff down like, I don't know.
This shit is like a scene out of like Bart Simpson, like throwing a skateboard like off of like that school building. But like imagine going like to Gunstock or like Wildcat Mountain going skiing and kids in jail just throwing their snowboards on the people like while they're going down the hill.
They're on the chairlift.
Sounds like a blast, but
they're on the chairlift filing off the bottom of their ski poles, just like hucking them at you like spears.
Oh my god.
Fucking torpedoing people going down the ski slope. We're laughing, but
yeah,
this is literally documented on film.
Like I can't believe this is a legit place. Like the stuff that they talked about in 90 minutes, it's like
how do you the
speedboats?
I thought we already did.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to that story in detail about the guy getting parked on his head.
The way they did the graphic sums it up perfectly. Maybe we'll use that as the episode description.
Should be.
So basically, like, yeah, it was just. Well, first of all, they said that those speedboats were crafted to be strong enough for like to take them in the Atlantic Ocean. They were like Miami Vice level is what they called them.
They hit like 60 miles an hour or something. I think they said, right?
Yeah, and they were to be used in what was no more than like, I don't know, like a man-made river. Mm-hmm. And so some guy was pulling up to the dock where one of the guards was, and while he was waiting there, just sitting in his speedboat, another guy pulls up behind him and like doesn't know how to stop or is going too fast and he can't. And by the time that he does stop, he's literally parked on the first guy's head. And I think the guard was the one that was being interviewed. That lady was like, yeah, well, I had to like come over and hit that guy's speedboat with a stick to be like, hey, get off the gas.
Yeah. But first
ride's over.
But not before she said she ducked down to see like if the dude got decapitated or not.
Yep.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
It's just crazy how casual they recall these stories.
Well,
my whole thing going back was, how do you end a day? Like, all right, 6:00, like time to close up shop. And this shit happens and you just expect to come back tomorrow and do it again. Like, and that's what I mean. Like we're so used to like, I think we hear these stories and we expect it to go live on Twitter. Someone talk about it. No one knows. Like you would have no idea unless someone told you Monday in school, like, hey, so-and-so got fucking decapitated at Action Park over the weekend.
I was going to say,
even insane.
And even then you wouldn't believe it, but you absolutely would because.
And then you go back Saturday.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Let's go. Maybe somebody will get killed while we're there.
It doesn't matter what job you have, but I was trying to picture when I've worked in retail before. I know that when we would get to the end of the night at 9:00 when it was time to close, the worst thing that I ever had to deal with was like one customer was still lingering in the store. I never had to deal with like someone just dying and that
filing a police report
at night.
Yeah. All right, it's gonna be a late one, guys. We got a decapitation over on speedboats and another goddamn kayak electrocution.
I'm gonna be 45 minutes late to the shack with the weed and the gangbang.
Yeah,
just
dude.
Start without me,
honey. Honey, start dinner without me. I'm gonna have to warm it up because I don't think I'm gonna be home in time.
One of those nights. We had a code brown in the wave pool, and this one just got out of hand.
I had to reprint some CFS bracelets.
Oh, God. Just tell the kids I said goodnight. It reminds me of those like cliche like things in the workplace, like however many days without a workplace incident. All right, every morning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I assume
without a workplace
their sign was
decapitation.
Just in hours.
Yeah. No, not even. They probably just at one point took the board down.
We can't keep up. We don't have the demand. We don't have the bodies to keep up with this. Living bodies to keep up with this task. And then there was, so we've said it a few times, but we should jump into the kayak electrocution.
Yes.
Again, RIP, someone died. You don't think to test these, like, don't these have to get passed by some sort of department to
Not at Action Park, man.
let you know you can do this?
Uncle Gene said it's okay.
Like, what's the difference between Action Park and me just opening this up in my backyard and telling people to come over and do it?
They were right that they said like back in the 70s and 80s they were trying to be the Wild Wild West, and
Different time.
they were to an extent
were.
until finally the state of New Jersey cracked down on them. But apparently, like, that reminds me of when I see anyone can probably relate to this on Instagram. People who start up small businesses that are like, and you think to yourself, how the fuck is that professional, and how is that still in existence? Because that's what this guy was, and luckily he had the money to like pretty much fucking cover himself everywhere. Made up a fake insurance company that operated out of where? Like the Cayman Islands?
Cayman Islands.
One of my
Cayman
favorite
Islands.
places.
Classic fraud.
Yeah.
Number one island for fraud worldwide.
Is it really?
I would assume so. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, he had the money to like make it work. He had all the connections. He was friends with, as we said, episode 45. He was friends with 45 apparently.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah, and he thought it was too crazy.
Yes, that's when you should have known.
That's not good.
That's when you should have known you did something.
Maybe we should go back to the blueprint.
Yeah.
Give this a one over.
Like his friend was that guy who was one of his major financial whatever aids boosters whatever is was a big Wall Street guy who then eventually got 10 years in prison for other fraud related shit.
Yeah.
Like this guy was Uncle Gene was connected to the mob, which I don't like to talk about, but
I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. I feel like any business in New Jersey has to be connected somewhat.
Well, especially with how untouchable he was, like there's no way he didn't have just some possible connections. Like there's no way he wasn't deep rooted.
Nah, for sure. A couple quick things I wrote down. Which one should I do first? This was interesting. I forget the exact context, but I wrote down there's a part, I think it was like on that Colorado River thing, like people getting in fights. Guests would get in fights with the staff and then throw them into the pool. Or like throw them like into the river. Imagine like you have to wake up every morning being a 15-year-old kid going to work thinking I might get into a fist fight with like a 40 or 50-year-old guy and get like my shirt pulled over my head and thrown into like the fucking pool. All while I'm probably just trying to meet chicks and like get laid. This is the shit I have to put up with all summer. I quit. I don't get paid enough for this shit. I just picture a kid like coming out soaking wet, like a wedgie, like walking into the manager's office. I quit.
The other side of that is too, like if you're an employee, like I'm picturing myself, someone just like whoops the shit out of me on one of those rides. And then like with a bloody nose, I'm just like, actually, do you want to work here too?
We're hiring.
Yeah, right.
We have a pretty nice referral bonus if you're interested.
Yeah. And hey, by the way, you know what? Since you had such a bad experience and had to kick my ass, here's a comp pass to come back.
Here's a beer.
Yeah. We'll let you take home one of the fucking slide carts for free.
One of the complimentary heads from one of our weekly decapitations.
Oh, how about their summer party? That looks sick.
Yo, right?
I did write
that.
That would be phenomenal. Something like that. It was but the coolest part was they took all the money that they found like left over like in the pools and shit and had one end of the summer blowout like with all the cash. That would be dope. Like that's
cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I would still like to do that actually.
Yeah. Definition.
I'm working from home, so there's not much like just cash laying around. But as a teenager, that's about like as cool as it gets.
Yeah.
Like one big party, and then.
And they were responsible. Everybody would sleep over, so nobody had to drive.
I was going to say that party was the most responsible part throughout the whole documentary.
Seriously.
No one drove. I mean, they got hammered and probably I don't know, banged each other and did drugs and whatever, but
still they probably the safest part of actually.
They weren't throwing kayaks from a ski lift trying to kill people on
a
ride that already killed people on its own.
If anyone knew how to ride the rides correctly, it was the employees. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That looked like a great time. Like I would have loved to have been a guest at one of those parties.
That is one of the crazier parts about that sled ride, that alpine sled ride, because you're right. There were certain parts where it was just simply a yellow sign that said slow down. But I assume there wasn't much of like a instruction board like before you got on it. It's probably, hey, just follow the signs and you'll be fine. Push you down. And then you just pray for the best. Let's see. The other good one was like that waterfall that like dropped. It was like a waterfall and then you just get out to a 10-foot drop.
Oh yeah. And was that like right next to the cliff dive?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Again, not well thought out at all, because there's people just in there. Again, one of those like double stacks of danger. That ride is already dangerous enough. Then you just have people jumping off cliffs at the same time into probably a 5-foot pool.
I don't understand how that place was supervisioned. Or supervised.
It was a bunch of kids. Like, that was the thing. One of the great lines from the movie was, they're like, this place was the equivalent of the movie The Purge. Like, once you're in there, just like everything goes and just fucking do whatever you want.
That was another place where people just got landed on all the time.
Yeah. Like all these rides are already a pretty high level of danger. More dangerous than they should be. But now it's like, okay, this isn't enough. Like, I need more. I need to just swan dive onto people, or I need to throw my go-kart off the ski lift. Oh, great example. That game they had when you can shoot tennis balls at each other in your
Oh my God, yeah, where they stole the gasoline.
Pretty dangerous. Let's light them on fire.
Yeah.
And shoot them at people.
Honestly,
how are you not shut down as soon as that happens?
I was surprised that they said they banned him from the park, or like they kicked him out of the park for the day. I would have thought that just would have been another day that ended in Y. Like, oh, all right, man. Like, that was stupid.
Right. It's like the two kids just looking at each other like, this is too much, right? Like, do we step in here? Like, those are fireballs.
Fireballs, yeah.
We should say something. I don't know. I don't know. You do it. I'm off in 5 minutes, so I don't really care. We'll leave it to the night shift to deal with. But it's like you give like report like, as you head out. It's like, all right, anything suspicious today? No, business as usual. Line on the alpine ski was a little backed up. There were fireballs on the tennis ball thing, but no, business as usual. See you in the morning.
I can see them.
That's pretty much it.
I can see them like watching the kid take the gasoline and then be like, should we step in? No, you know what? Let's see how this plays out.
Let's see how this plays out. Exactly. I think he's on to something here.
I'm sure they'll find a peaceful way to finish this ride. So we should be good.
And I think the last thing I'll say before, unless you guys have anything else to close out before we transition, is just the go-karts in general. The go-kart scene was phenomenal because they framed it as you would literally get hammered at like an Oktoberfest event in a tent and then go ride go-karts that could go up to 60 miles an hour and apparently weren't very like strictly tied to the track they were on. Because that one guy's like, yeah, I got that thing on 93 a couple times. He could keep up with traffic. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what is this place?
That's where I wanted to go. The fact that this place was located over the highway and like you had to cross over that bridge to get from one side of the park to the other. I don't know how there weren't more accidents that just took place on the fucking main roads. But yeah, imagine.
Boy, I don't know.
Imagine driving home at night on the highway and you just see a go-kart in the lane next to you.
A go-kart flying off the track into the highway and just continuing to go. I mean, I certainly have a lot of questions. Like, RIP to your uncle, but I wish he was alive so we could get him on and just get to the bottom of all this stuff. Do you have any other, like, his next of kin or anything that could come on?
Well, his ghost is actually supposed to – this is another secret, family secret. His ghost is actually supposed to be incorporated into like our reincarnation of one of the rides. So he's supposed to be like the he's supposed to be like one of the guards on the next ride that we're coming out with next summer.
That's pretty sweet.
We actually have a legit haunted ride now that you can go to. And actually, that was one of my questions. I'd ask you guys, do you think at some point this place was either like haunted or cursed? Or is it just a straight up, just a dangerous place where people die? Like, all other things considered, this sounds like an urban legend. Like, oh, you know, a kid like got decapitated here. we're like, oh, fucking a kid threw fire tennis balls like in another cart or something. Eventually, all things considered, I would assume like something's up. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding, like how they put this place together. And I really wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe it was some sort of sacrilegious burial ground beforehand. I also am curious. They showed the plot of land when he like initially bought it.
Mm-hmm.
I really wonder how much space this place took up, because there were so many fucking rides, and like the way that you guys were putting it, it always seemed like the documentary was about to end and they'd be like, but then, and then go into like the 14th ride of the documentary. And I was like,
yeah,
damn, this place was huge.
Yeah, good point.
And
just on one side too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't get the construction of, did they have to take things apart in the winter at all to accommodate the fact that it was like because it was a ski resort in the winter too, right?
Well, it was originally bought as a ski resort and it got too warm, like in the non-winter months. Remember?
Oh, so he didn't use it as a ski resort anymore?
Maybe in the winter, I forget. But that was the main reason they built the amusement and water parks. They were losing money over the summer. But you mentioned the word accommodating. I don't think that word came into the vocabulary at all for anything involved with this place. What was I gonna say? The theme song was fire. The commercials were dope.
Yeah,
like the action park. Yeah. I compared it because we're lucky enough to live in New England, and we're lucky enough to hear the Water Country theme park song throughout the year. That's also one of the more off the charts action park theme songs of all time as well. Like you're cruising down 95 and that comes on the radio. It's hard not to hit the blinker and just pull off and go to Water Country.
It still slaps.
Is that park still open?
Yeah. Water Country? Yeah.
Jadd's like Mr. Water Country.
I've never been
in a previous life.
It's fun. I mean, after seeing Action Park, it looks like it's bitch made, but
looks like
it is pretty fun. Yeah. They have that ride Geronimo, which is virtually just a vertical drop slide, which is, that's another one. That slide where they showed the kid like just bounced a couple times and just went off of it.
Well, then they had another.
What is the point of testing it if like the ride literally like kills people? Like that's failing the test. Like you can't do it.
They had another drop slide where what was it? They had to literally build a cover on part of it just to keep like, with the thought that, if they lose surface coverage or whatever against a slide, they'll just bounce off the cover and then get back on the slide.
Mm-hmm.
That was a gentleman's move. That was courteous of your uncle.
Oh, yes.
That was well intentioned.
I don't know if it was the same ride, but there was one place where they had to put in padding because someone got impaled as he was on his way through. He got like a nail in his head because there was like exposed. They called it a brad or something like that. Or like a screw. But on his way through the tube, he got that in his head as he was like bouncing through the ride.
Well, I think it was on that loop ride. They had to have like a special tool or something for when people got. Oh, there was the trap door.
Yeah, the trap door
to see if people got stuck at the top of it. It's like, if anything, it's a story of perseverance because it's like through all this stuff, it's like you probably shouldn't continue to keep this water park open, but
he really designed that ride.
I'd be willing.
Sonic the Hedgehog or something. Like if you
it's not meant
going
for
fast enough, you can go through this loop with no problems, like as if it was a roller coaster when you're strapped in.
Actually, I think that came out before Sonic the Hedgehog. So I think Sonic the Hedgehog kind of copped that off your uncle. Yeah. So if you have any like interest in the business, you might want to file a cease and desist to Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sounds like copyright.
He's really monopolized that human loop-to-loop market since the early 90s.
You should probably sue Ryan Reynolds too for his involvement with the movie.
Yeah.
Or like threaten him with a lawsuit or just coming on for like a future episode.
Oh, now we're talking.
Just looking out.
If he is listening, then listen to that part and then let us know.
Yeah. But, I still have the email addresses of the mob ties that we have to the family. So
you should probably keep those under wraps.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
I'm going to hit someone up though. Someone's going to hit up.
But anyway, if you haven't seen it, I think it's called Class Action Park, which is a great nickname.
Yeah.
The documentary. And that was cool too. The very beginning, it's like, well, I didn't even ask you guys. Did you guys know about this before the documentary came out? Have you ever heard of this?
No, I never heard it.
No, me neither, until I heard that guy on the podcast mention it. But I feel like most people who, again, we're a little probably too young for that time. I'm curious, like, if my parents have heard of it, or like, how old would you have to be now? If you were a teenager in the 80s, you'd be what, like early 40s, 40, 50?
Yeah, probably like mid to late 40s.
Yeah. I bet there's people I could ask if they remember this. I don't know.
That Get Hard guy, he said he's 39 now.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. Perfect. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Perfect.
So he must have been like kind of on the outskirts and probably went there at the end of the 80s or in the beginning of the 90s. Well, I'm surprised that I didn't hear about it since it didn't close until 96. Like, I have no memories
96? Holy shit. I didn't know it was that late. I thought it was like done by the 80s. 96 is when it went to that other name?
No, 96 is when they show the newspaper clipping saying that the park was closing for the summer and likely for good. And then it didn't get reopened again until like 2012 or something like that by my other relative, Mr. Mulvihill.
I remember specifically a scene with a newspaper article that said deaths were up in 86.
Yeah.
So they kept it on for another 10 years after that newspaper headline.
Crazy.
Just push through, perseverance. That's business right there.
Mm-hmm.
Through the face of adversity, keep pushing through.
Good old Uncle Gene.
Uncle G. R.I.P. Uncle G. Let's move on. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on HBO Max. Just DM me and I'll give you Soapy's login info. I came across this today. I thought might be interesting in talking about real quickly. So I was listening to an old episode of Mixtape. It's a podcast Soapy and I listen to a lot. Shout out those guys. They were talking about this Twitter thread they came across, and I thought it was fascinating. And I kind of went down it a little bit. I think I told you guys about it. It was basically a Twitter thread of low-stakes conspiracy theories that are out there that they saw. And Jadd, actually, before I go into it, you made an interesting point in the group chat. You said something about Tupac's death, which everyone, for the most part, kind of knows about. But you also mentioned Andy Kaufman, right?
Yep.
I know like who that is. I don't think I know the actual story, like why it's a conspiracy theory or what happened. If you can fill this in real quick.
Andy Kaufman.
I just know the Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of where
Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, exactly. He was on the show Taxi with like Tony Danza. And
great show.
Yeah. He's a comedian, but he had like some alter egos too, but nobody he like pulled ribs and joked around all the time. So like nobody ever knew if he was serious or not. He ended up getting like cancer later on in life. And then people didn't believe him for that.
Oh yeah.
So then he like tried some Western medicine treatment. And I'm like remembering The Man on the Moon, the Jim Carrey movie too.
Me too.
So like it goes from that Western medicine where it seems like it's working pretty well, and then it goes to like immediately his funeral. But one of his characters was like Tony something. I forget what it was. It was Tony, I forget the last name, but like years after like Andy Kaufman's death, the alter ego Tony guy like popped back up and was doing shows. So people didn't know if Andy Kaufman was actually dead and that was actually him, or it was like somebody else that was pretending to be him. Because I think there were times, and they covered it in the movie, there were times where like one of his confidants or whatever would play that Tony character. But it's like, that's been one of the rumors, like that he's, actually still alive and just been living low key and then might come back, or like is, I don't know, maybe like somebody new or whatever on the scene. I don't know, but.
Interesting. The movie is weird. Man on the Moon movie. It has like a weird ending. Like I forget what happens. But yeah, it's like, it's all about like spiritual medicine. And but there's like a really weird scene. Do you remember the movie at all? Like,
yeah. I mean, kind of. It's like he's in line.
Isn't Danny DeVito in it?
I think so.
It's with Jim Carrey, right? He plays Andy Kaufman.
Jim Carrey is Andy Kaufman. Danny DeVito was in Taxi too, so maybe that's part of why he was in it too. But yeah,
that show was a great cast. Danny DeVito. I think Christopher Lloyd was in Taxi, right?
Yep.
Jeff Conway, Mary Lou Henner.
Yeah. You're a big Taxi guy.
Wow. Yeah, shout out to my dad, who's a huge Taxi guy.
Does he like use taxis as well? Did that motivate him to use taxis, or vice versa?
No, just admired from afar.
Unrelated. Yeah. these guys are onto something. This public transportation thing. Anyway, so I started going down this, and there's some good ones here. So just to give you an idea of what they're talking about. Again, low stakes. Low stakes conspiracy theories. The first one I saw was low sodium soy sauce is just soy sauce with a green top, which I thought was wonderful. Food in general, I've always thought, like, I don't know how like regulated it is, but like how, like, I'll buy something that says, all right, one serving is like 300 calories. I honestly have no idea what that actually means. Like, this could be 500 calories, 100 calories. Like, I'm curious how like in depth they go to actually measuring exactly how much protein, exactly how many carbs, exactly this, exactly that. I think there's a lot of like rounding and guesstimating when it comes to like public food like that.
And also, not that there's a way to be like, okay, like scalpel, 3 carbs, check.
Yeah.
100 milligrams sodium, check. Like,
Right.
You can't put those things in one by one. So then how do you then, if you had to prove it, how do you like,
I don't know.
If you were a scientist, how do you even fucking measure that after the fact? Like, all right, let me pop open this bag of Doritos and see if there's really 260 milligrams sodium in here.
Like, you do that for every single food produced in the world. That seems nearly impossible. It seems like way too tall a task for a simple human race to be able to do.
And then how do you know how big a serving size is? Like, what makes it change?
Exactly. Like,
who determined that?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. This is a great one. Simple, blunt, right to the point. Wyoming isn't a state, period. I've actually been to Wyoming. Actually, quite frankly, I really don't know. I've been to what I think was Wyoming. They told me it was Wyoming. I always assumed it was Wyoming till this kid, Jacob Greenlee, said Wyoming isn't a state. And I should shout out the originator of this thread. It was at Zachary_Kramer on Twitter.
He's got a great picture.
This thing went up to like thousands and thousands of comments. And this is back in like from December.
I think the first one underneath it is really good.
I just have some screenshots I took. What one are you talking about?
So this one says that mosquito spray actually attracts mosquitoes, and thus you have to put more on.
I saw that, and that's interesting. There's a few on there like marketing things, like, you know, like toothpaste. They made like the hole in toothpaste bigger so people use more of it and have to buy it more often. Or like sunblock. I saw there's a few in here circling like the sun doesn't give you cancer, sunblock gives you cancer, or some like crazy shit like that.
Ooh.
Or the other one I saw in here a lot was with gasoline, like premium, regular, unleaded are all the same thing. People just feel better about buying different ones. Speaking of that, this is a great one. Busch Light, Natural Light, and Bud Light are all the same beer, just marketed to different groups.
Yeah.
Do you think you could pull off like a blind taste test of like those three? One time, a couple years ago, me, Shawnee O, and maybe you guys were there. I don't remember or not. It was back in our South Portland apartment. We did a blind taste test of Miller Lite, Bud Light, and Coors Light.
I think I was there.
And I've always said, I think you were. I've always said I know the difference 100%. I can definitely tell. I think I went like over 3. Like, it's harder than you think.
I'd like to try that.
Yeah.
I feel like I could identify Bud Light. Like,
I can too. Like, I know what Bud Light tastes like. And I know, like, I like Miller Lite the best out of those 3. I think it tastes the best.
Really?
I know it, and I do, because I obviously I know they taste different. If I have one I like better than the other. But like, if you were at a party and you were just drinking Bud Lights all night, and then someone at the end of the night told you that was actually Coors Light, I probably wouldn't know. I'd believe them.
I think the one most noticeable would be the Busch Light for sure. Most distinct.
I've always put Natty. Isn't Natty Light widely regarded as like less than Busch Light?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot that was one of them. Yes, Natty Light would be the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I think Busch would be worse than Natty. But I mean, I drank Natty a ton in college, so
yeah,
that's why.
UNH was mostly a Busch Light. I didn't really have much Natty. A lot of Keystone at UNH. Too.
Keystone was
that I could tell a difference.
Yeah, we had some Keystone.
I don't know if I could blind taste a glass of piss in Keystone, but definitely between Bud Light, Coors Light, and Keystone, that stuff was gross.
Yeah, Bud Light.
I had Milwaukee's Best for one night. Milwaukee's Best was the worst thing ever created.
If that's
I'm pretty sure it was piss, like from Wisconsin.
That says a lot about the great city of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
If that's true. This is a great one. Another short, right to the point. I don't know if I disagree. Edible arrangements is a front. Period. I don't know. It's putting fruit on. It's a lot of money for people to put fruit on sticks, and then somehow they're at your door, ready to go.
Yeah. I don't know. Great business. I don't see them I don't see them being found out anytime soon, whatever they're actually doing.
No.
It's genius. I mean, if it is, no one's going to argue against fresh fruit and like healthy lifestyle as a gift. Jeez Louise.
Chocolate dipped strawberries. Ooh.
Can't go wrong.
After a breakup?
No, that doesn't scream the Mexican drug cartel to me, but that's why I don't work with the feds. This is a good one. Pat Sajak works a pedal to control the wheel on Wheel of Fortune.
Oh,
that would ruin my life if that's true. You think it's all fake?
How ruthless he is when people make like stupid mistakes. I'm like, yeah, that guy's a host, but he's not very welcoming. He's certainly not like a host at a restaurant. I don't feel like he's gonna like go out of his way to help me out. That's for sure.
I don't know. I think it's like if that's true, then there's more to these game shows than meets the eye. There's like an Illuminati of these game shows, and they're just funneling this money and this prize money that you win. It's a balance plus minus between, how much this show brings in and how much money they have to pay out. They can go into a show saying, hey, like our advertising dollars, we're at plus, I don't know, $500,000 tonight. We got to keep the prizes under 200,000 to be comfortably in the green. So
make everyone tank.
Do your thing. Put them under. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is just true. Free shipping doesn't exist. That's true. Free shipping is just a marketing technique on like Amazon.
Agreed. That shit's built in.
So it costs $24, $25. It's either $25 free shipping or $23.99 with $2 shipping or something like that. I don't really.
It does make me feel good to be an Amazon Prime guy.
I'm always going to go for the free shipping.
Yeah.
If I can. I think even if it was like $18.99 plus $2.99 shipping, probably still buy it for $25 free shipping. I didn't think I came out on top. Probably why times are a little tough right now in the wallet, but what are you going to do? This is another one. It's just not a conspiracy, just something true. It's so stupid. There's no such thing as a cookie cake. It's just a big cookie.
Yeah, that I agree.
I mean, true. I've also had a similar outlook on cupcakes. There's a line in The Office. I think Kevin says it or something like that. It's like, they're having like mini cupcakes as like a treat, and he's like, okay, like you're taking the cupcake, which is already the miniature version of a cake, and turning that into something even more miniature. I'm out. Just like slams it into fire. But most of these revolve around mass-produced food, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, cupcakes. I feel like, I don't know if you could consider this a conspiracy. It's just like, a cupcake is just a made-up thing. It's just a small cake.
It's a smaller cake.
Yeah.
It's an open face cake. It's like it's one layer of the cake. You know how a cake has like a layer of cake, then a line of frosting, then a layer of cake.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one part of those, and people will cut them in half and flip them over, so you still put the frosting back in the middle.
That's a good call. That's a great move. It's basically just a personal sized cake. It's a cake for one. And then the mini cupcake, that's just slapping us in the face.
Yeah,
like that's the audacity these guys have to even mass produce that is just borderline.
That's just rude.
Breathtaking. I've heard this before. I bet Ben Poulin could dive into this. I really don't know enough to discredit or not. Finland isn't real, period. Few people have thrown this out there. And one kid said, Finland isn't real, Google it. And I forgot to Google it. But the other thing is, and they talked about this on the podcast, that if that's really not a low stakes conspiracy theory. That's pretty up there. If the United Nations just made up a fake country for whatever reason. Again,
does
I've
Finland
never been.
Exists? Many don't think so.
Yeah,
is that what it says online?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you got to make an effort to have that argument. There's got to be some truth to it.
It's saying that it was made up by Japan and the Soviet Union.
Like, what do you mean it's made up? Like, you can buy a ticket to Finland, can't you? Where does the plane drop you off?
Japan or Russia?
To an empty parking lot. You just get out to like a vast, I don't know. They just kick you out the plane.
They're saying that it's like that. I guess around the 1950s, those two countries like spread a rumor. I don't know how you spread a rumor about a country, but they said that there was a landmass in the middle of the ocean known as Finland, and they were trying to keep it like as a secret between themselves because it was a good like fishing like market area, whatever. The Japanese were free to fish as much as they liked without worrying about international laws, so long as they give a share to Russia.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like 1950s, 60s, there's a lot of sketchy shit going on with that part of the country. Because again, it's like there was no cell phones, there's no internet. You could basically just say whatever the fuck you want. Like, who's gonna like correct you? Exactly. It's like, yeah, like, you know, there's this made up country called Finland. It's right here.
And it makes sense if there was a ton of fish and it's Finland, fish Fins. There you go.
Yes. I think I'm kind of nervous about continuing this conversation.
I think we just solved it.
Like, what if we all just got like a phone call from like a mysterious number tonight instead? Like,
Putin.
We need to talk about what you know about Finland. These three morons. I was watching them all night, boss. They started talking about this fucking amusement park, and now they're getting at something.
Yeah,
we got to cut them off. I think that's why my Skype cut out like 10 minutes in. They knew I was going to bring up Finland, and now, oh shit, hold on.
I'm just waiting for potential spam to pop up on my phone now. Like that,
it's like
that caller ID.
There's this big bright light like landing in my front yard.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. What the fuck? You saw this kid like beamed out like from here.
Or tomorrow morning I get a text from
Finland?
Like you said, an unknown number, and it's like, hey, can we count on you for a vote in this year's Finnish election?
Yes. Now a couple more. This one's interesting, and I've always kind of believed along these lines. And this one's about dentistry, but I think it can be about anything in healthcare. Dentists don't really want us to have good teeth, or else their business wouldn't exist. Now, I know obviously that's not that black and white true, but it's kind of the same thing with like weight loss programs, or, you know, you can really get into it and talk about medicine and stuff like that. But like weight loss programs is probably better. Like, I feel like if you're a trainer or like selling a diet or something, like if it works too good, you're going to lose all your clients. Like you have to like just get people right there, get them excited for a little bit, plump them back up, and then start the circle all over again.
I just remembered the barbershop that you and I used to go to. We won't name it, but the barbershop we used to go to in college anyways. I remember one time.
I'm more scared about having those guys find me than Finland. Feds.
So, yeah, to clarify, in case those guys are listening, the barbershop that you and I used to go to in college on the Seacoast, I remember one time.
That place.
Yeah. I used to go there like once every other week, pretty much. I just hated having long hair. And I was like, I love coming here to get a haircut, but is there anything that I can take so that like basically the line of my hair would stay straight? Because I hate like when it grows in, there's like a widow's peak, whatever.
Sure.
And she's like, I essentially said, is there anything that I can take to keep that from growing? And she's like she wasn't exactly the nicest person. She was just like, you realize that if something like that existed, I wouldn't exist as a business, right? And I was like, oh yeah, good call. Never mind.
True.
Never mind. There'd be no reason for me to come here if that was the case.
I thought you were talking about a different barbershop. But yeah, that lady was cuckoo. Like that lady was crazy.
Big time.
But it makes perfect sense. You know, it's like if there was this magic formula, why the fuck would a barber give it to you? If there's a magic formula for perfect health, why would we give it to someone? Our economy would collapse.
Did you ask during the haircut or after? Because that's a bold question to ask while she has a pair of like scissors.
I just picture like those big like Sweeney Todd scissors. Brutus the Barber
Beefcake.
Just chops his head off. You won't need any haircuts after this. Those are dangerous questions, bro, to ask in a barbershop. This is so funny. It's funny you mentioned that. Last one. The military is a scam. buy barbershops to sell more haircuts. I don't know. I mean, shit, you draft all those dudes. They would just line them up.
Those are pretty much free models to put on. They have a never-ending supply of posters to be like, is this what you want for number 1? Here, no, I want number 2. I want a little higher on top. Like
crew cut.
Yeah.
Crew cut came from the Army.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Have you guys heard, I think I actually mentioned this on one of our podcasts. Jadd, do you know, I've always found this interesting. Do you know why the Yankees have pinstripes on their uniforms? Where that originated from?
I felt like I knew at one point, but I can't think of it now.
Because I think the story was like Babe Ruth was embarrassed, like he was so fat, and he heard like pinstripes make you slimming. So they made him for him and then like kept him the whole time.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know. So, case.
You guys have heard the Marilyn Manson. That's more of an old wives' tale.
That's like
the rib.
That's
taking out the rib.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are like urban legends.
Yeah.
Which are also interesting.
Yeah.
What is the Marilyn Manson one? He took out his rib so he can suck his own dick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that about it in a nutshell?
Pretty much.
Apparently, like that's another like. I guess the theme to this episode is family secrets, but yeah, I guess there's a
meeting with the Mansons.
Yeah, Manson Senior was big on that.
Is Marilyn Manson also your uncle?
Uncle Marilyn.
Trust me, I wish.
Yeah,
I wish. I've got an urban legend that I'd like to dispel. Well, I think
I was gonna say I think you have more in common with Marilyn Manson than you do with Gene. If you told me you were related to one of those two people, race aside, I'd probably lean towards Marilyn Manson.
Wait, is Soapy missing a rib too?
No, I just meant general day-to-day operations, wardrobe. Have you ever seen him on like a real like talk show or something? Like he's actually a very well-spoken like guy.
Oh yeah.
He used to go on these shows and just be like a classic one is like Bill O'Reilly would have him on and just like shit on him. He's like, nope, I'm like a pretty well-educated guy. It's fucking weird. And I'm just dressed like a woman. But besides that,
debating like Sean Hannity.
Here's one involving Marilyn Manson. Did you guys ever watch The Wonder Years?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that one? It's his brother? Like he's in it? Go ahead. Just tell me.
Yeah. The urban legend is that the dude that played the best friend, I think his name's Kevin.
Yeah. Kevin's the kid.
Yeah. Kevin's best friend, I think Paul, grew up to become Marilyn Manson.
I've heard that. But isn't that easy to like disprove or not?
Yeah.
How do you not know who he was when he was in the movie?
Here's a better one. The kid that played, you've seen Boy Meets World?
Uh-huh.
The kid that played Minkus grew up to be the girl on what is it? Ridiculousness. Who's also involved with Rob
Chanel
Beard,
West Coast?
Yeah. Dude, not even kidding.
Dude, I could picture that. 100% I could picture that.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally a story or it's real?
No, it's not real. It's like an urban legend. It's a meme, but hold on. Let me look it up.
So, Soapy, you had one too you were going to say.
I just
found something very interesting. Go ahead, Soap.
I just thought of one that like on my own. I haven't seen this anywhere. I think
an original urban legend.
Yeah. I think Bill Cosby is actually a good. No, I'm just kidding. No. The thing with Marilyn Manson though, that was another thing that they discussed on Mixtape in a different episode, where they were talking about like how did urban legends become, like how did those get passed from like someone on the East Coast could talk to someone on the West Coast and they both knew the story. Yeah, the audio listeners,
resemblance.
Jadd's got his phone up to the screen and is holding up fucking Minkus and Chanel West Coast, and they look like the same person. Just
it's the same smile, man.
And everything else. Minkus, great character.
Mm-hmm. But they were just talking about like how do those stories get perpetuated, and it was like, well, the white community thinks that Marilyn Manson was like that story, and then in the black community it's the same thing but with LL Cool J.
Really?
Yeah. I've never heard that.
Yeah, if you listen to one of their episodes, that's like, I don't know,
he
if you
also
go
cut his rib out.
Yeah, like that's the rumor, is that it's the same rumor but replace it with LL Cool J.
Hey, it's nature versus nurture, where you grow up and what you're told. Jadd, you might appreciate this. This might freak you out. I Googled urban legends and it said like biggest urban legend for each state. New Hampshire, the cursed Isle of Shoals.
Oh, been on that isle a ton of times. But yeah, Jesus. Dude, I'm not surprised because like when you do the Isle of Shoals boat cruises, you pass by like the old abandoned asylum.
I know. We were always probably too drunk to even like remember what I was seeing, but it's very interesting.
Where's that? Oh, is that off the seacoast?
Yeah, it's in Portsmouth. He used to host the cruise, like a booze cruise.
There was just a ghost behind you, Sophie, by the way. It's probably your Uncle Gene.
That was Uncle Gene.
Ooh, I forgot about that. This is actually coming full circle, ironically enough. The charming Isles of Shoals off New Hampshire's eastern shore is the perfect destination for a seaside picnic, ... Or, you know, a series of brutal murders. 2 young women were horrifically butchered via the particularly creepy maniac with an axe method in the late 1870s. Great method for serial killing, especially in the 1870s.
Oh, yeah.
Sharpened axe, some dark clothes.
It's just old school.
Group of vulnerable teenagers. Tale as old as time.
Yeah. Couldn't write a better script.
And they've tried. And they failed. There is a movie called Urban Legends. It was pretty terrible.
Yeah, that was awful. I was pumped about it.
I think like the cliche ones are like the Hitchhiker stories or like, I don't know. That shit used to kind of freak me out when I was little. Now I think I've heard it so many times. It's almost kind of like when we're talking about unsolved mysteries, like with the aliens and stuff like that. It's like, all right, like I've heard this before. If it's true, it's true. If not, whatever. I'm not going to lose any sleep.
Wasn't there aliens in New Jersey the other day? Like a bunch of TikTok videos went viral showing a UFO.
Day?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
But I think somebody said it ended up being like a Goodyear blimp or whatever, but I didn't even think those still existed.
Yeah. You know, it's weird. There's a lot of those about like those old like TV shows like Boy Meets World and Wonder Years and like shit like that. I don't know. It seems like, or like movies. There's great ones about movies, like just haunted like movie sets. Those stories are really good. Like there's a whole documentary on like behind the scenes of The Shining and like some of the crazy shit. Like you could go on like a 5-hour like bender on like The Shining or like 2001: A Space Odyssey, like all those freaky movies like from the 70s and 80s. They are kind of freaky and they are interesting. But at this point, it's like as an adult, I don't know. Bring it on. I've been to the Isle of Shoals. I wasn't brutally murdered yet, so I don't know.
We should do our next episode from a graveyard.
That'd be spooky.
I'm in.
Did you guys ever do that as a kid? That's something that's also another bucket like thing that I want to check off, like a late night graveyard trip.
You never done that?
No.
I've done that a few times.
I feel like I have.
I remember like when I used to work at like the grocery store, there were a few, I was young. I was like 16 or something like that. A couple of us like talked myself into joining them. And I was so like, I thought it was going to be a big deal. Like we're just going to walk through the graveyard. But like these guys were serious. Like we got there and like, I can probably look it up. There's Blood Cemetery in Hollis. That's like a classic haunted story. The Blood family. Do you know about that story?
No.
I think it's like exit 6. So it's like the Blood family lived across the street. I think the story was the youngest kid. The dad like murdered all the kids, like cliche. The youngest one got out, ran across, either got shot while he was crossing the street or like killed crossing the street or something. But as he was crossing the street, a car was coming and slammed on the brakes. Oh, that's what it was. The car slammed on the brakes and hit him as he was crossing the street. And they're all buried next door. So now the story is if you go there at night and park and like stop and turn your lights off, you can hear like a car like screeching or something like that. Or you can see the kid like running across the street. And then there's the hanging tree in Nashua too. That's scary as fuck.
Where's that?
Hanging, I think it's off exit 1. You're supposed to go there, park. You can see it's like a hanging tree. It's either where they used to hang people or it's just because the tree's hanging. I forget. But you park under it, you stop your car, and you can hear like a thud like hit your like rooftop, which is supposed to make the body like coming down.
Oh, shit.
It's
Spitbrook?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Seriously. I swear to God. Well,
I know. It's just, I'm just picturing
the story's real.
Like being near like Press Cafe.
Well, they've revolutionized the area a little bit since like this happened in like the 1800s. But no, there's all sorts of shit like that. But anyway, when we went into the graveyard, I thought we were just gonna walk through it. Dude, it was like the haunting of like the Blue Lady or something like that is what it was called. And it was this grave way at the end, and you're supposed to see like a blue ghost like come behind it. And I was like, all right, we're just gonna walk through and walk back. And these guys were like, they had their flashlights. I swear to God, dude, they're like, come out, you bitch. Like, come on, you pussy. Let's see you. Let's see it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to shit my pants. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, are you guys fucking serious? And we didn't say anything, but very scary, very traumatizing. I feel like even if we did that now, it wouldn't be the same. Like, it's like a 30-year-old guy.
I don't know.
This would be scary as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll find out when we record and interview your uncle at the graveyard of Action Park, mid slide in Action Park. But no, let's wrap up here before I give myself any more nightmares. Anything from you guys? Any closing remarks before we get into our interview? If Dan's still in the Zoom lobby.
Yeah, that's what we should do when we combine our podcasts. Is just make it a series of debunking urban legends.
I'm down for that, bro. I'm down for that. What was I going to say? This is going to really take a shift when we talk to Dan Lifshots about gambling and
sports radio.
Right.
Working at the Sports Hub.
Oh, man. But
Has he ever encountered any ghost callers?
Dan, you catch us at an odd time in our podcasting career.
Did he take a rib out to give himself a blowjob?
Well, we'll find out shortly. Let's transition into the interview. Here we go.
Your uncle's back.
Dude, that just scared